I lived in New York for like 11 years. So that was not here, but that was a different location.
I can confirm.
Yeah, but aside from that, I was born here and I moved there, and then I moved back here. I didn't mean to, but it happened, as things tend to do, is they happen.
They do tend to happen, but oftentimes, including moving, you have some control over it.
Yeah, totally. You do. Sometimes though I find sometimes I find life to be like a river you're in, and sometimes I find myself to be the river, and there's banks and you just kind of go into a bank, and then but when I came back here, life was more the river and I was just on it.
How does one passively end up back in Los Angeles?
I mean, it's confusing for sure. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I think I wrote a song for a movie, maybe, and it was like $1,000, and I was like, oh, I'll write one a week for 6 weeks, and then I'll have $6,000, and then I'll go back to New York. But obviously, that's not the way it works. So I'm still waiting for that $6,000, 10 years later.
You moved out specifically to write music for movies?
No, just for one. I don't even remember if it even worked out anymore. I used to be a drug addict. And so I left there because I wrote a song for a movie, and I was like, okay, I'll go there and I'll keep doing this, make so much money and come back and do drugs. But then when I got here, I was like, wait a second, why would I, like, oh, this is freedom, or, I can be free from that dependence, maybe. But it ended up working. And so I ended up staying. It's way easier here to, stay inside your body and fix what's in your mind than New York. It seems like it's very hard to stay inside your body and fix stuff in your mind.
What does that mean, stay inside your body?
Just not trying to escape at all times every day. That's, I guess, what I was doing before. Was just I didn't want to face facts, face reality that I was a body that had to be attached to my head and use my brain to think about the past, present, and future in a constructive way. It just wanted to avoid all possibilities. I think drugs provide a wonderful way to escape all decision making. And it's like, if you or don't like making decisions, the best thing in the world, but you have to, is make your decisions based entirely around drugs. And once you do that for a little bit, then you have to make your decisions based on drugs. And then that will be your entire life. And then you'll be safe from making any decisions at all, But then you'll find yourself having not made anything of value for years, and then you'll want to be inside your body and fix your mind, like I have.
Los Angeles is also a place where one can acquire and do a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
It sounds like you knew that it would have an effect of essentially freeing you from the dependency.
Yeah, well, it's a mystery to me, honestly, because the whole thing, my personal journey is a mystery. I don't know the decision I made to come out here, but I do know that I wasn't. No one was holding me accountable for my behavior there, so I went somewhere where I felt like I couldn't just, because you lie all day long when you're on drugs, and so I went somewhere where I couldn't lie. And on the plane ride here, I decided I was never gonna lie again, because it's the worst. Several horrible parts of doing drugs, but one of the worst of them is that you're just a liar. That's your full-time job, and it sucks. And I just that in itself was a lie, because I'm not a liar. So I moved here to be honest, and I like it. I like it, and I think I really needed a dog, to be like quite frank with you. Is that I think what I was missing the whole time was like an earthbound creature that would be my companion and that I could take walks with. Like that really that turned the whole thing all around. It made me appreciate every day as a canine friend. I highly recommend it. Or a bunny friend in your case.
A dog or a pet generally has the effect of grounding you. And I assume that's important when you're a touring musician to have some sort of center or some kind of tether to a place. In this case, a creature that is very much just dependent on you at all times.
Yeah. Well, I think there's many benefits, but life can get a little topsy turvy, and when you're on tour, you have to like deny all earthly wants and desires and just accept that you're not in control of anything. Um, and there's beauty in that. But once you get home and you all of a sudden are in control of everything, every choice you make, all of a sudden, what you're going to eat, what, when you're going to take a shower, every single thing all of a sudden isn't like, I have to do this because we're only in this hotel for an hour or whatever. And also, the van is so loud. So you're going 60 miles an hour, super loud, 8 hours a day. And then all of a sudden, silence. It's really nice to have something, to take care of and to give time differentiation, like because there's you get back and you're like, I don't know when I eat. I have no idea. How are you supposed to know? I've denied myself feeling hungry for a month. I've denied myself feeling thirsty. I've turned off those superpowers, the superpower ability to know when I'm hungry, the superpower ability to know when I'm tired. You just turn off all of your body, and then when you get home, you're like, oh, shit, I haven't drank water in 3 days, and it's like, oh, the dog doesn't have any water in his bowl. Oh God, how long has that happened? And then you're like, okay, and then you feed that thing, and then you feed yourself, and you walk, and it's good for you. And they're just here to they're just there to be happy. That's all they want. There's no like agenda. There's no hidden hidden fees or whatever. It's just they just want to be happy. And I really appreciate something that wags its tail to let you know that it's enjoying itself.
They can't lie to you. Their bodies
Mm-mm.
won't allow it.
Yeah, that's true. Their bodies won't allow it. That's so funny. Wow. Thank you for saying that. That's awesome.
It's interesting to hear you verbalize this idea of almost like not having a grip on time passing, because I think that's something that a lot of people have really just experienced for the first time over the past year. Any of those built-in structures that we've traditionally had. I mean, I'm somebody who, used to go into an office every day, and that's a way of marking time, right? It's clear
Yeah.
when it's done and you're home, and that's a way of creating a delineation between work and home life, and that doesn't exist anymore. Having been thrust into and not being able to tour over the past year, how much fuzzier have these things become to you?
Yeah. It's really weird because basically our life is every other month is like lockdown and every other month is like opposite lockdown, 24 hours a day for a month. So that it was that way for like 5 years. I don't know if it's every other month, but we never really went more than like 3 months without touring. This is familiar to a certain extent. This just like I at least take like a week after every tour and just like cocoon and like just don't listen to anything, no sounds, no nothing, just silence and walking the dog and maybe like I don't some show or something, and just appreciating quiet and bed. So yeah, I mean this year I don't know. I think that there's part of me that's used to it and part of musicians that's used to it, but a huge thing is that on tour, like you have to play a show. Like you have to play a show every night, and you can tell like, oh shit, I'm getting sick. I'm gonna push this off for a week. Like you have the magic power to be like, I'm not getting sick today. I don't care. Like I'm stuffing this down So after like 5 years of stuffing things down, like feelings and sick and everything, your body's filled with all of this stuff. And, and being with people every day, 24 hours a day, your only time alone is when you shower. Like you build up annoyances, whatever, and you push it all down. So this has been a year of like not pushing it all down, and then having the same input as everyone else, which is traumatic. And I think just everyone's in the same position, as either you could have used this last year and whatever to just like feel whatever has been buried and deal with it, or just keep slamming it down and hoping it won't come up. But I've been just taking the time to really just be like, okay, what shit are you carrying around that you don't want to? What shit have you? And like processing everything that's been happening as it's happening. Like, I mean, I'm not sober, but like I stopped drinking because I was just like, this isn't really helping. Like, if I don't feel this now, or I'll be honest, when Trump got coronavirus, I just freaked out for some reason. I was just like, I don't know why, but I was just so scared for everyone that like didn't believe in it. And I thought that that was going to make everyone believe, and then everyone was going to be so scared, and that was going to cause, that was just like the last, something crazy happened every day, but for some reason that event tipped me over the edge, and I got like wasted, just like completely wasted while doing a podcast with someone. And I just realized, like, I don't know, I was like, that didn't help anything. And yeah, and so then I was just like, you need to just feel everything as it happens as much as possible, because just, yeah, having stuffed down feelings for so long, it's like this time is so special. I mean, it's horrible and beyond horrible, but this time of things being slowed down and not getting to express ourselves in the way we're used to, uh, isn't going to happen again, And it's like, I forgot who I was. I forgot that I like playing music. I forgot that I like making sound. Like, it's funny because they're like, the most dangerous thing you could do is sing inside, and it's like, oh really, my job like is the most dangerous thing you could do? Like, yeah, I think it's, I mean, it's weird to not do the thing that you love, or the thing that makes you yourself. But it was funny, all the things I tried to do in place of that. Like, I couldn't remember that I liked playing music or sound, making noise or whatever. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll jog. Maybe that, because I knew it was something physical, but I didn't know what. So I tried a bunch of like weird exercise things, and I was like, and then one day we played, I think we did like a virtual show, and I was like, oh my, oh no, we recorded a song. And I was like, that felt so good. I totally forgot. I love singing. Like, I can, I can do the thing I love. I just forgot what it is. I just didn't know there was anything I liked about being alive. Not to be mean, but sorry, life. No offense.
It's not mean, but it's certainly it's a bummer.
Almost all of life is about trying not to take up too much space, and being kind and respectful and conscientious and compassionate and welcoming. All of these things, but none of the things that that we are is about like self, when we play, we are ourselves. Like, and there's no other time really where that fits in. It's like, just, you just are purely who you are. And maybe everybody else in the world is that all the time, or maybe never. But I that's when I'm myself, is when I'm playing or recording or whatever. I don't know why, but that's the way it is.
It's great that you not only found this thing that you love so much, but that you've been able to make a life out of it is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. It's yeah, I heard a podcast that I did yesterday, or it came out yesterday, and it was said, it, and it is me. It said that it decided it wanted to be a singer when it was 7. I don't know why that's how my mind is talking about myself, but yeah, I guess when I was 7, I was just like, that's what I want to do based on nothing. And that's actually what I am, which I think is really funny because I was a pretty wacky kid. So I guess I'm a wacky adult.
I feel like that's probably a fair assessment to some degree, having only just talked to you for 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because, and I know you're doing this like somewhat jokingly, but to start referring to yourself as it and then like carry that all the way through, there's kind of like a disconnect in that it sounds like you were listening to yourself back at a distance and maybe rediscovering some of those ideas, having heard yourself talk about them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's funny. Also, I'm a pretty passionate person and I like really mean what I say. So if it's not the exact moment it's happening, I'm kind of like, that's interesting. It's like, oh, cool. Like you really meant that. But I do think, I mean, I know that to be true. It's just that I forgot about it. It's just funny. Like, I live with kids for all of the pandemic. I live with my nephews and they're 6 and 10, and like they're not going to be the jobs they want to be right now at all. They're not going to like work at like, Splash Mountain, Disneyland ride and be president, so it's
I mean, one of
funny.
those is pretty attainable, I will say.
Splash Mountain ride.
Yeah, if you really put your mind to it, I think they could probably work at Splash Mountain if they really wanted
I
to.
know. I don't think anyone would be better at it, honestly. I've never heard anybody have more passion or enthusiasm for roller coasters as my nephew.
I wonder part of what made it so difficult to understand that this was a thing that you loved over the past year. This is something I've talked to a number of people about. You seem like a very empathetic person. Is there guilt attached to enjoying yourself when so many people are suffering?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't even, it has even yet been possible for, yeah, to enjoy anything when people are suffering. And it's even hard. I'm still can't imagine playing now. Like I see everyone having their tours coming up and shows coming up, and I'm feel a little bit jealous, but I also just feel not like ready. I don't know. I think it's really heavy what's going on, and like I see it's not going to go away super quick. It's like I was in New York in 9/11, and it's like that doesn't that still affects me like every day to some extent. And like we had a record came out and during in October, and it was like if we didn't have that, I don't know how I would have dealt with the pandemic, the whole thing, because it was if there wasn't like a specific date to look forward to, like March, April, May, June. That was a pretty good, like we recorded it in March, just like finished it right when the lockdown happened, and then like I think did art and had all of those things to look forward to. If we didn't have that, I don't know how I would have survived the year. But as far as, yeah, like putting out a song, releasing a song when people are suffering in every way and learning about how much people have been suffering for so long. I think there's so much to learn from like Black Lives Matter to like, all of the Me Too stuff. Everything was just like, wow. Like I didn't have enough time to look at this before. And now, and there's so much to learn. And being in a pool of everyone learning that and learning their part in it, yeah, there wasn't like, it definitely didn't feel right to celebrate or anything else. And even people that would be like, I need you now more than ever. It's like, no, we need to just take this in and feel it and like learn, just listen and learn. You can't just like push this away. You have to feel it, I think, which sucks because I don't like feelings.
It's complicated, right? I mean, I agree with you. And I think a lot of what you're getting at in terms of the distinction between touring and home life is the idea of distraction, in that when you're on tour, it's constant noise, it's constant distraction. You can't focus on anything because you're always focusing on like a moving target. Over the past year, all we've had is that time and that silence. I do think ultimately there is something to be said for productive distraction in that I also don't think it's healthy to just focus on suffering all the time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But yeah, I mean, I think everything needs a happy medium, or I always forget that word, but what's it called? Just a little bit
Moderation.
moderation. That's hilarious.
It's very funny. You know
Yes.
what's funny about that? Just like everything we talked about before, it's very funny that the word you can come up with was moderation. Because, like, am I onto something in that you like might have, at least in the past, had difficulty with moderation?
Oh yeah, I'm like, I mean, I didn't totally. I'm bipolar, which I thought meant like you're either really really happy or really really sad, and it's not like that. It's like everything is just yes and no. It's like black and white, and so it's I don't have that at all. Like I'm like 100% happy, or it's just everything is really there is no moderation. Like there isn't like this thing is kind of that, or it just,
It's a binary.
yeah, it's really weird. It's a very very weird way to live. I will say, like, yeah, it's funny. I was sick for like 4.5 months of the last year, and like if I didn't, it was just like I had to re-remember every day because I wake up happy every day because I train myself to with the dog. Like even on tour, I'll wake up happy. Like I've just for the last 7 years, I wake up and I'm like,
You can train yourself to be happy because I would like to know how to do that.
yeah, you can train yourself. I mean, you can train yourself if you have like depression. That's like a real thing that you can't train yourself out of depression completely, but you can. There's breadcrumbs you can leave yourself along the way every day, that could train you to be happy at different times of the day, and after like with your bunny or something.
So it's like memories. It's just tying things to memories and feelings that are attached to certain things.
Well, I used to wake up every day and just be like, oh God. Honestly, this I've never admitted this, but like I used to wake up and just be like, I should just take a sleeping pill.
That's not an uncommon experience.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to do the day. Just didn't want to do it. And then I would first thing like look at all of the things I didn't want to do that day, get everything organized for the day I didn't want to have, and then start the day of sorrow, like ugh, like
Begrudgingly getting into your day.
yeah, and just not doing any of the things that could possibly make anything better because I was so deep in it. Nothing seems like it matters. Um, and then yeah, and then I got the dog, and it was just like it wasn't immediate, but it was like instead of the first thing being like already defeated, I should go back to sleep. Okay, what is this shit the emails I don't want to look at? Like starting it in that way, I took away that beginning part and made it so the first thing is, it used to be the first thing was the dog woke me up, like for maybe like 6 months. It would wake me up and I'd be like, oh my God, you're still here. From like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be here. It was like, oh my God, you're here. And then finally, like after 6 months or so, it got to a point where I was waking up the dog, being like, hi, like, let's go on a walk. So then before I wouldn't take my phone, I wouldn't even look at it. Like, it didn't matter. I would just take the dog, we'd go on a walk, and then I decided like I was worth buying coffee for. And that's how the whole thing started. Just these two pieces was like walk the dog and go get coffee somewhere that you want it. And that may sound like privileged or whatever, but it was like before it was just like suffering, hating it, like just my phone, no, nothing you like. And then it was like you're going to spend $2 a day to have like an hour and a half of just you and the dog are in this universe. And then when you get home, you can deal with this shit and it's not going to be as bad. It doesn't mean I don't get like deathly depressed sometimes and whatever, but I'm always happy when I wake up.
I think what you're describing to some degree is, and I know this is like a buzzword now, but I think it's mindfulness. In that the issue before is that your brain was always somewhere else, right? You were always focused on those five things you had to do versus whatever was going on in the moment.
Yeah, totally. And it pre-planned how the whole day was going to be. So yeah, totally. Just being there and being like, okay, this part I can control. I can also control not looking at my phone. I can't control what's in the phone. Like Lord, Lord only knows. But like, yeah, and just and when you choose something for yourself, particularly like if it's like before the day starts, like if the first thing you do is just doing something for yourself, especially if you've had like a whole life of only taking care of other people, it's a big deal. Like you did good. You know, it's like you did good. You did good. You didn't go back to sleep for, you know what I mean? Like it seems like a low bar, but it's when it's unachievable, it's unachievable. So
Were you always focused on taking care of other people instead of yourself? Are you describing yourself?
oh, I mean, yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't like, I didn't even like think of myself as a human until now, honestly. Like this year has been an like incredible journey into awareness for sure. I didn't even know I was someone to take care of. I thought you were just supposed to take care of everybody else. You know, I didn't know. Nobody told me take care of yourself.
This sounds like a really basic question, but what does it mean to think of yourself as a human?
Like as somebody to be treated well, somebody that deserves like choices and to just like basic things like to be advocated for in your own head. Like you it matters what decisions you make. It matters your lifestyle or what you do because it affects you. And being yeah, even admitting that things affect me, I didn't realize until this year of quiet. I was just like, oh, nothing affects me. I don't know, no, everything's fine. I can do anything. I'll, you know, um, I don't have any feelings, but I do have feelings.
In addition to all the things we said before, drugs are also a distraction, and they're also a way of muting those feelings, of removing the feelings, of not having to deal with those in the moment.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like a lot of people. I hear people that are like say about themselves that they're like a perfectionist or something, and it's like for all these different things is a fear of making a mistake keeps you like clammed up or whatever. um, and drugs just cut out the option of failure immediately because it's like I don't know what to do to like it just doesn't there's no options like you're if you're a drug addict, you're a professional drug addict. You're really good at it. It takes up all of your time. Like you know exactly what to do in every moment. And real life isn't that way. There's so many options in real life. But as when you do, and I haven't done drugs like that kind of. I haven't done like drugs in like 10 years, so it's been a while. But yeah, it's like a job and it's a job, it's a full-time and nighttime 24-hour job that keeps you from having to make any decisions that aren't based on drugs. And I think that if you're the kind of person that needs to have drugs to stay away from life, making up your own decisions and path is like the scariest thing in the world. Just and you retrain your brain every time you do it, like don't worry, you don't have to think about this, just do drugs. Like don't worry, like I know how to fix your problems, just do drugs. You know, like, what are you going to do tomorrow? Don't worry, just do drugs.
It's also a way of like having your schedule mapped out for
Totally. 24
ever.
hours a day. It's perfect. It's the only downside. The only downside is it's so expensive. Other than that, it's really cool.
You probably think of a few other downsides depending
Yeah.
on the drugs.
Yeah, that's true.
The plane story is really interesting. You know, it sounds like you were able to basically will yourself on this plane cross country plane ride, will yourself out of getting back into them.
Oh, yeah, totally. I did. It was, it's not easy either.
I, I imagine.
Yeah.
I think about this a lot as it pertains to my own life. You know, I think we like to sort of like contextualize life as being like the movies or like books to some degree. Like that's how we can process things.
Yeah.
You know, in movies, there's these like there's these moments, there's these life changing moments, and there are very few that I've experienced in my own life where it was just like when that happened, nothing was going to be the same after this. You know, it sounds like you were making a very concerted effort to make that one of those moments where after this plane ride, things are going to be different.
I mean, I didn't know exactly how it was going to happen, but I knew that I didn't, like, my family lives here and I knew I couldn't. I mean, I had lied to them a million times and been around them a million times on drugs, but for some reason, yeah, I was just like, I always kept on trying to come here, um, and run out of drugs, and then I'd just be over it. It'd be fine, but like that's not how it happens. Like the minute I got back there, I would just get back on. So yeah, it's just like I knew I couldn't do it. It's like it's the worst lifestyle in the world. The worst thing in the world is being a drug addict. Like, I mean, it's, you know, it's the worst thing in the world. It's a 24-hour job. You know, it's like that's all your whole life is, and it's so that you can numb yourself because something is too painful, and that's so sad, you know. but but usually you don't know that, so I didn't know that. I was just like, oh, like, but the first step is getting off of it, and getting off of drugs is doesn't feel good, you know. So you really have to like, it's really hard because also your brain, the way it works, like, and this is something I'd like to note for children out there, is that nobody tells you this, but like I haven't done drugs in I think 10 or 11 years, I'm not sure. Um, and I still dream about it like 3 times a week where I have it in my hand and I'm going to go do it, but I get caught. And that's crazy. Like 10 years later, having nightmares about getting caught doing drugs is like really hugely affected. You know, I don't know how long this will last for, but um, that's people don't tell you things like that. Like, oh yeah, like you're gonna think about it forever. Just know that. But yeah, it's not. It's so much better to be on the other side than just being sick every day. Sucks.
Did you have those dreams when you were on it?
Yeah, yeah, all the time.
That was one thing you weren't able to silence, to numb.
Yeah, no. I mean, the consequences still in my dreams don't even matter. Like when I'm in my dreams now, when I do it, have it, I'm just like, it's like if someone catches me, I'm mad at them. Like, you know, I mean, I haven't done it in my dreams. You never, for some reason, I never have everything I need, and I'm like just holding it behind my back, and I'm like, just trying to get on an elevator, and somebody like my dad is there or something. I'm like, oh shit, sure, I'll help you with that, you know. But yeah, I don't know how everyone else gets off of it, but I know that like when you're done, and it's just like you're just fucking done. Like it's just over. You can't do it anymore.
If you're lucky, right? I
Yeah,
mean, a lot of people think they're done.
that takes like 3 years for sure. Like, at least for me, I was like, I'm done. Like, but yeah, I'm super lucky for sure. But I will admit, and just because maybe it'll help someone, I also never talk about this. I think this is the first time I've ever actually. I don't know why, but for some reason, I've
I
never.
mean, it was a huge part of your life for a really long time. It's kind of crazy that like it's just not something that comes up ever. Obviously, you're behind it and you don't want to dwell on it, but like it was a big part of your life for a long time.
Yeah, I just don't want to like people in my family be sad. But I guess it's more important that I talk about it than protect people that already even know and probably don't care. But yeah, I got like I went to a like a clinic and got Suboxone, and I was supposed to go there every day and get it, but I didn't go one day, so they kicked me out of the clinic, and then I was just like, please, 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 you don't understand. Like, I really need this. Like, I need to stop. And then they gave me like a 10-day supply or something. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Los Angeles with this. And that's it. That's how I remember it, at least.
Were you able to write and perform music while all this was happening?
I wrote a lot of music, and I played a few shows, but I'm sure, were garbage, and I don't remember them. And I feel that's like a thing I feel guilty about, and embarrassed about. But I wrote a lot of songs, and I still like them. It's like I wrote a lot of pop songs. I loved writing pop songs back then with my best friend. We would just stay up all night writing music. It was super fun.
Have you been able to write it all in the past year?
Hmm. Yeah. Not, I mean, like we wrote and recorded our record in March, and then that came out in October. Um, and we couldn't see each other for like a year. So just because I lived with kids and it was too risky. And yeah, I guess people weren't seeing each other. So we didn't really do anything. But we started writing some stuff, and now, yeah, now I mean, I've like changed so much. Honestly, it sounds ridiculous, but um, I've changed so much, and I realize I love like writing music. I just did it before. I didn't think I liked it, but now I'm like, oh, I love writing songs. It's so much fun. So I've been writing a lot, and we've recorded a bunch, and we're going in the studio on Sunday and going in the studio so much because uh, I like I like that being, I feel happiest and most in like powerful human when I'm a writer, when I'm in the writing process. It delineates time and also allows me to say like, no, I can't do that, I'm writing. Like, no, I cannot do that, I'm writing. And it puts me in charge of time, and I like that. And it just means I get to think with benefit, thinking with benefit. You know. That's, yeah, so I'm writing right now in this moment.
I would assume that performing, there's a power in performing too, right? There's a power when you're up there and you're singing and the whole crowd is sort of like hanging on your music. It's a different kind of power.
The energy exchange of, I mean, that's funny, the energy exchange, like you're like, even if you're on stage, like it's everyone else's energy that's what's happening. It's not the person on stage, it's how the person on stage like moves the energy around and exchanges it with the audience, and how it's happening together. Like, even if there's just one person, or especially like, it's a good performance or a good time is when people give you their energy and you give it back the way they want it, or better than the way.
Can you have a good performance in front of a non-receptive crowd?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You can.
yeah, because you're just stealing their energy. Like, and that there's power in that. It's like, oh, you don't like this? Oh.
Being almost like confrontational.
Yeah, or you're just with your friends on stage and you're like, it's like you know what you're doing. There's no real situation that like every that's the thing is you're not in control of anything other than your energy. And then if you have extra energy, that's great. But it's like on stage, you have each other's energy, and you can, yeah, it can be confrontational, or it can just be like, I'm going to make you, like, also, I don't really feel like talking about it too much, but like, as girls, like, often we go to play places, and when we get there, the people that work there, like the sound people or the bartender or whatever, like, oh God, like they don't know what they're doing. They're girls. And then you play, and then they're like, oh my God, and like buying you shots, like, nice show, that was awesome. And it's like, we still, even if people seem like they're bummed out, we have the ability to like trick them into liking us. And that's the ultimate goal. So there's never like a time to throw it away. Like there's no time where it's like this isn't as important as another time, because that's not it's that's not real. It's always equally important.
There's power in subverting expectations.
Yeah, it's fun. It's super fun. Just like it's super fun when someone's like, I don't know, I don't like this, or I don't want to have fun tonight, and it's like, too bad, you're about to have fun. It's hard to think about now, but is like our job is to make people feel drunk, kind of, or actually be drunk and get excited. Like our job is to make people excited and like feel energized, give them life. And it's, which is really funny to think about, because there's almost nothing I'd less like to do right now than make drunk people energized. That sounds like really, maybe just for a few more weeks, I'd prefer not to be in a room full of drunk people, but that is really what our job is.
It sounds like you're still drinking on the road. I sort of gave up drinking 2 years ago, just as for like health reasons.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Is it hard? I don't know. I mean, this is something you might have to deal with. I don't know, like if you're planning to start drinking again, but it's drinking, like you said, drinking is such a part of the live show. It's such a part of playing in like venues or bars or venues with bars. It must be really difficult to perform in and around so much alcohol without drinking.
Yeah, well, our Larry, the guitar player, he's sober. He's been sober for as long as I've been drinking or whatever. Like most of us don't. We're like a pretty tame band, but I drink. I drink before we play. Like I'll drink. Usually, I drink tequila before we play because it like loosens up your muscles, and it just is tradition. But yeah, I don't know. I can't drink anymore. It doesn't make me feel good. So I think it'll be hard. I'm imagining that it's going to be hard for me to go out and do stuff, other people's shows and things. Like I'm having a really hard time imagining like going to someone's DJ night or like going to someone else's show like completely sober. But as far as our shows, I think it feels really good to play sober, like to actually feel it. Sometimes it's feels awkward, and weird, and just like it's not as easy to get to the place you want to go, but when you do, it feels great. And it's I think it's gonna feel weird no matter what, like the first few shows we play. So might as well try it without drinking.
This isn't really comparable, but I don't know. Maybe it is to some degree. But like I like karaoke a lot, and I remember when I assumed that when I stopped drinking, I wasn't going to like karaoke anymore, or that I wasn't going to be able to do it, or that I wouldn't have the sort of like nerve to put myself out there. And it was real hard the first couple times to get up the nerve to sing in front of strangers.
But you can do it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
I just had to kind of push through it.
That's awesome. That's so good.
I just assumed that it was part of the package. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's good to know. I assume that too. I mean, a big, that's amazing though. Thanks for saying that, because something people don't realize is on stage is so loud, and like a guitar comes through an amp, so it's not like you have to play as loud as it's going to be, but singing, you actually have to do it so loud to get the sound out. And when you're singing in front of these drums and like crazy ass loud fucking guitar, it hurts. Like it actually physically hurts. And after 30 days, you can't do it. So I've convinced myself that I have to drink. But hearing you say that, it's like, no, if you really want something, you just, I'm like, you make it happen without like excuses. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, yeah, and now that you're like at this point in your life where you're like, oh yeah, this is something that I really enjoy doing. Maybe you don't need to medicate yourself in order to do it. If it's something that you realize now brings you this just like pure sense of joy, then maybe you don't need that push.
Yeah, totally. That's I'm next time we're on stage, I'm gonna be thinking about you and being like, but you said I didn't need to train. I'm just kidding.
When you're just like sobbing because you can't sing,
Yeah.
and yeah.
What started out as a regular concert turns into mayhem.
This is probably something you've thought about as you're entering the studio with these songs, but as your feelings and your approach to songwriting has changed, and you said earlier that, when you were on drugs, you were writing pop songs, and, maybe those had a marked impact on the music you were making. And I'm wondering, like, now that you've sort of like gone through some of these realizations and you've come out a bit of a different person on the other end, do you think all of these factors have and are going to make a marked impact on the songs that you make?
Yeah, totally. Like the last record was like the first. I mean, they're all kind of steps in that. I write everything in my head. It's not even songs. It's not sounds. It's concepts. So the last record was like about, like, we had the most time off we ever had. I thought it was going to be, which is crazy, but we had from January, or we got off of tour and we had December and January and February off. And I was like, oh my God, 3 months off. Crazy. Like, I'm going to spend this in complete silence. No music, no nothing. Just gonna listen to a couple books on tape from a couple heroes and really focused on like figuring out like what I wanted the record to be about. And the record, what I wanted it to be about was magic spells, that, because I was like, okay, we're going to sing these songs 100 times this year at least. 2020, we're going to go on tour probably more than any other year. Let's make a record about like chanting and visualizing and singing, about manifesting and becoming the most you could possibly be, and not be afraid. Like all of this shit, all like Under the Spell of Joy is like all about manifesting and ascending, basically, and becoming full you with your greatest potential. And that all was like in my mind before I even actually knew what any of that meant. Before I realized like manifesting starts with kind of like deprogramming lack mentality for the most part. And so I think that was kind of like, I think the next record is sort of, instead of like stuff you say and chant and do like in a magic way, I want it to be more, what are the things you say inside your head, like mantras and things like that. Like it doesn't have to be, yeah, the last record was like, oh, how does it feel to say these things out loud? What kind of magic happens when you say these out loud? What happens when a bunch of people say this together? And this is a record for out loud. But this next record, I want to be like, how I was calling myself it before. Changing that, like just having it so it's like, if the song is just going in your mind, it's just like, it's empowering you, just by the fact that it's playing in your head, just like any song that gets in your head, and just so it can be there, like when you're going through different struggles or whatever you're going through, it's just like the soundtrack in your mind. So we've worked on a couple songs like that, and I'm excited to see where that goes. But yeah, it's all about what's happened in the last year, and just realizing like I was programmed to do a lot of weird, to not know that, yeah, I was an individual person worthy of making decisions based on anything. It was just all other people's ideas in my mind, being programmed, and we all are.
But now you're kind of programming people. You're trying to program people, or you're trying to put ideas in their heads with the songs.
Yeah, programming people to be free.
Is that possible? Can you program somebody to be free?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. I don't, I mean, yeah, because,
I guess it's deprogramming, maybe, is a better way of putting it.
yeah, deprogramming. Yeah, deprogramming. I mean, yeah, tons of little things that seem like they matter don't, and tons of things that don't seem like they matter do. But yeah, I mean, I haven't fully worked on it. Like today's the first day of July. I'm writing this record this month.
Is it something that can be accomplished in music? And is it something that, because you seem to have a very, again, also kind of binary relationship with music, and that there are long periods of your life that you're not able to listen to it. And I don't know, can you point to a particular record in your life that has had the impact that you're trying to have on other people with this next one?
Um, I guess some like staple singers records. I feel like there isn't. I feel like there isn't. I mean, I don't know that I would like another person's record to have. I mean, I'm kind of trying to make like a gospel record in a way, you know. So it's like I don't know that I could find what this is without it being connected. It's more like religious or something, but I don't. But I'm not religious, and we're not. It's just like spiritual.
Spiritual, it's manifestation.
Yeah, I think. I mean, because you like I like songs about love and motorcycles or whatever. About Black Sabbath is my favorite band, whatever. But like, if you we have to sing these songs like 100 times a year. You know, it's like it'd be way cooler if we sang stuff is intentional and is what's the word you used before for when you do stuff during like the meditation thing?
Mindfulness.
Yeah, yeah. If people sing together, or if we say stuff that's like mindfulness, mindful, it's, I mean, what are like, how that would be so cool, and it would be so healthy, and it might, because like I said, yeah, as I train myself to be happy first thing in the morning, maybe if we have songs about shit, I could train myself or help other people train themselves to be like, oh, I'm not feeling good. Oh yeah, that song. I know what song to sing. Or like how our last record has like some of the songs are like, oh, when you don't like, because there's one part of manifestation, like visualization. There's all these different kinds and stuff to do, but the one thing to do where you feel yourself like achieving or living with the thing you've manifested, and you're like, just like taking phone calls, like, yeah, it feels good having that $1 million, like, yeah, no, totally, it's crazy, like whatever that is. We wrote a song that's like the feeling of achieving your manifestation, and so if you forget how to feel that feeling, you just listen to this song. And so, it's just like a what's it called, a legend on a map, is maybe it's just like a legend on a map. That's what our music is.